What's up, former party people? This is Jerry, you know, the one who actually combs his hair on the A is for Alcoholic podcast. Now, if you're finding value in listening to the AIFA podcast every week and you want to support sharing it with others, we invite you to become a sustaining monthly or per show contributor. Go to patreon.com/AIFA. It's super easy and it only takes a quick moment. It's about as easy as buying one of those pre-cooked space chickens from the grocery store, taking it outside, giving it a big old kiss, and kicking it into traffic. Why would you do that? Anyway, you do you, and I'll do me. Again, go to patreon.com/AIFA. And with that, people, let's start the show.
A is for Alcoholic is a program about recovery. My name is John, and I'm an alcoholic.
And my name is Jerry, and I'm an alcoholic.
Join us as we go through the alphabet of alcoholism, one letter at a time. Welcome back to the A is for Alcoholic podcast. We've been having some good talks and coming up with some new topics. Well, I mean, there's no new topics in sobriety, but new topics to us, and future episodes about relationships and.
We've been figuring out new ways to talk about the same stuff.
Yeah, I mean I was thinking about that too, and I know that a lot of our stuff overlaps, but I hope it's not repetitive. I hope it's not redundant.
I think they'd let us know in the comment in the reviews. Like, these guys say the same fucking thing every podcast.
If that's the case, please let me know. I wanted to. Okay, well, first, a few things to get out of the way. Our presenting sponsor is, as always, Green Camel Press. greencamelpress.com. We just got done. We spent the whole day working on a new stop motion animation. If you go check out our Instagram, there's some cutouts, and I took a picture of it, and doing a little project for another guy that we talked to on the internet, online at Instagram. He wanted to do something for his SoundCloud song. So this song he wrote, and he said, "Hey, can you guys do a video?" So we decided we're going to do a stop motion video.
Rad.
So I'm pretty excited about it. It's pretty cool. It doesn't look like much now because a lot of it is I need you to draw all this stuff, and then we're going to cut it all out, and so it's just a folder of cut out cartoons is what it looks like. But
yeah, it's
kind of just about having that sort of idea in your head, and then just putting the puzzle back together.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna start the filming next week once we get some more time.
Production starts next week.
Yes, exactly. So it's a lot of fun. So we do that kind of stuff. We do digital doodles, and there's some t-shirts. So if you go buy a t-shirt from greencamelpress.com, you are helping to promote A is for Alcoholic. It helps us out. Also, Gluten is Not Your Problem, our sibling podcast about food and weirdness and strange things, and our friend Walter, who is quite a hoot.
Hoot.
He's a hoot. We talked about, this last episode was called The Childhood Electric Chair. And apparently he made him and his friend made an electric chair when he was a kid. I don't know what they were electrocuting or whatnot, but it was, I don't know.
I'm just nodding over here.
Well, it wasn't, and I guess there was you'll have to listen to it, but nobody got electrocuted. It wasn't used on anything. They were trying to build something. It never worked. But and then I shared a story I had about me and my brother, shocking each other with this lamp that was kind of funky, and
that's also dangerous.
It's very dangerous. Do not play with electricity at all.
If we have to tell you that, though, you're probably you got to figure some shit out in your life. Yeah.
And if you're looking to figure some shit out, you're in the right place.
You're in the right place. So yeah, please don't electrocute each other.
So go listen to that podcast as well if you'd like to hear entertaining stories from a strange man who Jerry and I have both known for 20 plus years now.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. I also wanted to say, if you have a chance, we have our patrons on Patreon who are super awesome, and I wanted to thank Ben, who's just came on board to help us out, and he just got sober in February.
So right fresh.
On. So Ben, thank you very much. And he says he likes to listen to us while he's running or driving, I think he said.
Yeah.
So
What up, Ben? What up, player? What's up,
So
big
keep it up.
player?
So keep it up, guys. Go check out our sponsors. All the links are in the descriptions of the shows wherever you're listening.
Yeah.
Today's topic word is trust. It's T. We're already at T. T is for
T.
trust.
Yeah.
And I want to, and of course, Jerry, you know, we can talk about trust in all its forms. But the thing that was struck me this last week is I've been listening to this book called Born to Run. And it's all about how humans evolved to run, and how, in fact, we're the only species that has certain things like an Achilles heel, and there's like this tendon or muscle in your neck that is only required for running. And so all these different things, and about how the Bushmen of the Kalahari would track animals, and how, you know, they could track a deer or like an antelope, and they could run for miles and miles and miles, and where marathons come from. So there was all this fascinating stuff about running and running far, and how there's this whole tribe of Native Americans in Mexico called the Tarahumara, and these people run like 8 marathons in like 2.5 days. Like they run 400 miles in 48 hours or something insane like that, with just like sandals. There's all this stuff. So if you're interested in running, it's definitely it's a great book. But the phrase that stuck out to me and made me think about sobriety was the phrase was, or the quote was, trust the results first, then figure out the science later. And I feel like that's pretty important in early sobriety, is getting this idea that this is going to work. Because I don't know about you, but I didn't feel like it was going to work for me. And not
Right.
out of like, I am a hopeless wreck. I didn't, you know, I still thought that I would be fine. It was that I thought that the process and the program would not work for me. And lo and behold, little by little, these little things happen, and the results are that I am better, and I am stronger, and I feel better, and I'm happier, you know. And the other phrase is always trust the process. You got to trust the process. And it always sounded very smug to me. It always sounded is pedantic the right word?
Maybe. I think so, yeah.
It always just sounded really smug to me, and I never liked it. And now that I've been through some of the process, I'm like, oh, okay, I understand now. Because when I have those dark times, like, what is the point of that? And then you come out of it, and you're like, oh, okay, maybe I just needed to lay low. You know, I wonder why when I'm trying to go out running and my heel, I've got this plantar fasciitis that's basically impeding me from getting any real miles in. Like,
wait, you got plantar fasciitis? Yeah. You got a plantar wart?
No, it's not a plantar wart, but it's...
Oh, that's what I thought it was.
It's basically
I was like, I know someone who had them pretty bad, and they got them. It was a fucking process to get rid of them. Anyway, carry on.
The fascia is like this membrane that wraps around basically your whole body, but the part where the heel is, it just gets inflamed and it hurts. And so really the only real way to do it is to stretch it out. And so I've been doing these fucking stretches and trying to like get myself better. And I don't know. I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? So the plantar fasciitis, I'm just trying to get more miles in. And so like, what is the point of this?
Right.
And so I'm hoping that somewhere down the road, I'll be like, oh, okay, I needed to go through that so that I could learn this.
Trust in the process.
Trust in the process. Yeah. So instead of me getting angry at my heel and getting angry at my foot and being frustrated and just throwing my hands up and saying, well, I guess I'm just not going to fucking do this because this doesn't work for me. You know, I'm like, okay, so this is an issue that I need to learn because maybe I need to stretch something else, or maybe it's telling me that something's wrong and that I need to fix it. So I should listen. So I think of that in terms of sobriety, like maybe if something's not going my way, maybe if I'm not getting sober the way I want to, I need to listen to that pain or that problem or whatever it is and try and figure it out. You know? How do you, like, when you first got sober and you went through, we were talking earlier, not not just including, the relationship that you were in, but just trying to come to terms with yourself. Did you find it easy to accept all this bad shit that was coming out of you? I mean, does that question make sense?
Yeah, I think so. It wasn't easy. It totally sucked.
Fair enough.
It was weird, man. It was like a purge. It was like an emotional and psychological purge. Like I was pushing out all of that poison, that emotional poison. It's almost like it'll rise up every once in a while, even now, like a boil or something, and I have to excise it and get it out of my body. But it's in regards to trusting the process, like I had no trust whatsoever for the process in the beginning. It's something I think you grow to accept over time, that it just, if you just let it work. And my approach has always been, if I let it work itself out, it'll work itself out. I don't need to stick my spoon in there and start stirring if it's something that doesn't need to be stirred,
right.
So, but in the beginning, I could never trust the process because I had to micromanage and control everything. Because if I wasn't controlling it, it wasn't going to fucking get done right. You know what I'm saying? I'm the only one who knows how to fucking do it. My thought process was that back then. And I think the more time passed, my whole perspective was, I don't know fucking anything. I don't know how to do any of this shit. So why am I jumping in the middle? Get the fuck out of the way. I can figure this out when I don't know it. So I just need to either let someone else who does know help me with it and show me, or like let it work itself out.
It's kind of like cooking a steak. You ever cooked a steak? You've cooked a steak, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah. Right, I think I know where you're going with this. Yeah.
Once you get the pan to the right temperature, right, you got to put the steak in there, and you just got to leave it alone, right? You can't, if you fuss with it, if you're like trying to get the tongs and move it around, or you think that it's not in the right spot, you're going to ruin it. Right. You're not going to get the right amount of heat that hits and it's not going to cook all the way through, and then you're going to have a terrible steak at the end.
Yeah. You're going to have a Danny Clay steak that's gray as hell. That's an inside joke between me and John, but you're going to have a gray... And Danny Clay, you're going to have a gray-ass piece of steak. It's going to be dry and grody.
You don't want that.
And I still poke at it, though. I mean, if we're talking the analogy, but even like literally in my life when I cook a steak, I don't touch it, but I still poke at it with my finger to make sure to see how done it is, and that I still have to time it to like flip it and know exactly when. So even now, I think within my life, I still have some difficulty trusting the process at times. And I know the steak is a weird analogy on my end for it. On your end, it's perfect. It makes total sense. But I think still like that micromanager still lives inside of me. I am not walking this planet, this earth like Kato and Kung Fu, just zen as fucking having Kung Fu adventures and shit. Like I definitely have like weak moments, like weak moments where I need to assert myself in this room and let them know that I'm in charge of this room. It's funny. But I can recognize it. So at least for me, that's little props I'm going to give myself, is at least I can see it now and check myself when I'm doing it, and have that moment of weakness and step away from it and be like, yo, dude, this is not about you.
It's not about you, and you make a better mistake, and you're able to rebound from it quicker.
Better mistakes. I like that.
But with the steak, I think that maybe in another 5 or 10 years, you can just let the steak go and let it be.
I
think guys like you and I, I want to go back to, I'm going to reference a couple episodes ago when we were talking about the refuge recovery meeting and how I thought, there's not enough structure here for anybody to get sober. And it was really, there's not enough structure here for me to get sober. So because, and I guys like you and I tend to want to control everything, every aspect. And if I can just control it, if I can manage it, if I can make sure that everything is going my way, then everything will be fine. So when it came to getting sober and realizing that I had to let go of a lot of that control, the thing that really, really helped me stop micromanaging was the fact that there were rules and there were steps to be taken, and I had to take them, one at a time, and I had to just do as I was told. And that was the first time that all of a sudden, what? Yeah, I got to do what I'm told. What do you mean? I'm fine. I do what I want. But
Right.
and then
I got my own rules.
and then you start to realize that, all the stuff that I want to do, all the stuff that I've been doing, has not been working, not objectively.
Right.
And that's this idea that we can. This idea that I can control my own life, and I know that sounds a little silly, but I can't. There's so much of it I cannot control. There's a small portion, and I do my best to not, to tell the truth and pay my bills and go to work and be true to myself and all those things. But there's so much that I can't control. Right. I mean, let me ask you this: how you're recently in the middle of a pretty big transition for you and your family.
Right, we're moving into a new place because I rent.
You were forced
the
to
landlord
move.
Is
it wasn't.
Well, it wasn't me.
No.
The landlord called me and said, "Hey, I'm selling the house, so you all have 60 days to move out." Which I guess in the state of Oregon, actually, we had 90 days to move out, but. So I sat down and huddled with my wife, and I was like, "Yo, we gotta get out of here in 60 days." And I mean, it's been 2 weeks, and we've already got a place. We're already halfway moved into it. But go ahead and continue.
Well, no, my
with your
question was just that. Here you are, 60 days, you got to leave, and you found a place. You figured it out in 14 days.
And less, yeah, but yeah.
When you were that's something that you couldn't control. So how do you deal with things outside of your control now versus if you were still drinking Jim Beam and fucking Coke Zero, how would you have taken an eviction notice?
Awfully. Horribly. I would have dragged my feet way harder through this whole process than I am now. And I would have been hungover, and I would have been fatigued and tired and felt like shit, and my credit would have been way more garbage than it is now.
It's great now, right? I mean,
yeah, it's way better now. Yeah, I mean, like that's nothing. I mean, that's great, but in the grand scheme of things, that's like it's an improvement, but it's like I'm just happy where I'm at. I guess because my credit's so great, y'all. But I don't know. So yes, of course, if we're talking about perspective and control and trust, I would have had no trust for anything, and everything would have been a huge panic, and everything would have been. And I had my moments. I have had a couple of meltdowns, even in the past 9 days, or since May 9th when I got called. I've had a couple. I've gotten overwhelmed twice really hard, where I've had to take a moment and step away from it because I'm like, this is too much, and I'm freaking the fuck out. And so I tell my spouse that I'm like, yo, Megan, I'm freaking the fuck out. And then of course she's cool as fuck, so she'll text me and be like, how you doing now? And I'm like, I'm still freaking the fuck out, but I'll figure it out, or I won't figure it out. Maybe I'll just keep freaking out until it passes, which is what I did the first time. And then the second time I just started moving shit. I threw myself into a process, right? And I really honestly trusted that process would distract me from my fear long enough that the fear would just dissipate, So busy work has always been good for me. Like if I can find something to do, if I can find something to do with my hands or something to occupy me, I tend to let go of a lot of the anxiety and fear I carry around, Man, I was just thinking about this. Do you know what's funny, actually, and this is semi-related in regards to control and trust, is that I am a person who had issues with control in two different ways. I needed to try to have some sense of control of the things around me, but the one thing that I thought I was controlling was completely out of my control. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I thought that I could control my perspective, my environment, my outlook on life by letting off steam by drinking. I mean, my emotions, right? And so I'm like, here I am wrestling with control, because I'm the master of my destiny. But then while I'm drinking, I'm completely out of fucking control. Like there's nothing, it's so out of my hands. And now I'm looking for a way to take these things out of my hands in my life, in my recovered life. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, by not relying on this fucking thing that when it's added to me fucks my life up. And the reason why this comes up, and I thought about this, is because I talked to my mom the other day, and my mom is also in recovery. And she's been sober for a really long, it's just her life, her and my dad. Right. And she was talking about my little sister, because and this is don't might be long-winded, but my brother-in-law works for a beer distribution company, and they are not problem drinkers. They are not at all. Like, they are total fucking typical, like maybe you know what I mean, a can of beer, 2 cans of beer. No, not even a can and a half of beer, and you go to bed. You leave that other
right,
half
on the
to
counter
just sit there
or
and go
whatever.
flat,
Yeah.
right. And so my mom was talking about my sister, and my mom was basically saying, like, Jerry, I can't do that. I've never been able to just leave. Like, she's like, I'll wake up in the morning and, like, grab the can to recycle it, and there's still half a beer in there. And I just don't understand that, because I have no control. Because once I drink one, I want more. And I don't want to not have more until I'm asleep, you know?
I don't want to not have more until I'm asleep.
Right. And so it's this idea of control and losing control with the one, like, the device you think is that you're using to help you control things. It made me think about trust too, because I trusted in this device, right? I trusted in this thing, this substance. That's a better word for it. All right. I trusted in this substance. And I don't know about you, John. I don't know if it was so conscious with me, but I just knew that I just had a general feeling that if I drank, I'd feel better. Like, I would feel more relieved, right? My muscles would relax. My brain would stop firing so hard. So it wasn't like, oh, I'm drinking to dissolve, to fucking put my feelings aside, you know? By the end, trying to be funny, like, I don't want to feel feelings, so this is the only feeling I feel is drunk, you know? But, I never consciously thought of it that way. My body was like, my brain was like, reward your body. And you don't have to worry about that shit, because this is the only shit that'll, you know what I mean? And you can worry about that shit mañana. You can take care of it tomorrow, fool. Like, that's exactly what my brain would tell me, you know? It's just weird, man. It's just a weird way what a hard perspective, you know?
To think that this substance is the one thing that this is what you use to control everything in your life. This is to control my emotions, or how I feel, how I look at things, and I need it.
Yeah.
To feel better.
But you're not I mean, I wasn't intentionally, it wasn't a monologue. No. I wasn't like, oh, I'm using this to control. You know, I just did it. Because that was how I got paid off, was that train of thought.
Absolutely.
You know?
I try to think back to the way that I try to think back, like, let's go back 15 years. Let's go back 15 years is 2002 or something like that, or 2000. That's more, but 2004 or whatever, 5.
Yeah, 2004.
And I just try to think about me being in my 20s, and I would drink until I had alcohol poisoning, and then that never occurred to me to be a problem. The only problem was we ran out of booze, and now I am so hungover, I feel like I'm going to die.
Right.
And like, it's like, I can't hold water. I couldn't hold down water or like saltine crackers. I was puke those up. That's how bad it was.
Right.
So when I couldn't even hold down water, like, so that was my thinking, was so fogged by this substance. So yeah, it was, but I kept thinking that was the only thing that was worthwhile in my life, was getting fucked up, you know, because there was the social aspect. It was fun. I was a party guy. I was fun. And I look back on it, and I know we're not supposed to shut the door on the past, but there were some fucking just ugly nights. You know what I mean?
Those you don't shut the door on, though, you file those away for the next time a fucking shandy looks good on a hot day, you know? Like, right, the saltine crackers I was throwing up in a haunted apartment in 2005, you know? Like, because that apartment was haunted.
I lived in a couple of haunted places, I think, but that one in particular had some.
It was really haunted. It was dark.
Yeah, it was dark. The walls, or the floor was painted black. It was creepy and weird. Yeah, I took a couple of spooky dookies in that place, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, dude, because the toilet, the spooky dookies. Because the toilet, like, you had to step up. It was like in the middle of the room on steps. I took a bath in that apartment. The fuck was I?
It was.
You had no shower. You just bathed like we were interview the vampire. It was
like the beginning of like a Guillermo del Toro fucking film or something.
It really was, dude.
So and that was fine. That was still manageable. So I have to look back on that and find it's hard to trust that was where I was supposed to be, and those were the lessons I was supposed to learn to get where I'm at. But I
Yeah.
wouldn't be any other. I would be somewhere else completely.
Exactly. And that's why I honestly would. I can say this with true fucking sincerity. I would never trade this. I wouldn't trade this hardship. Like, if I had to do it again, I'd probably do it again, because where I'm at now is not even just better than it was before. It's the best I've been in my life. This is the best I've been able to function. And I'm not saying that as like a humble brag, or if you're out, on your run, or you're out working out and you're like, listen to this fucking asshole, like, oh, he thinks he's doing. But this is, I mean, from my perspective of my life, I can tell you everything that's wrong with it. I can do a whole podcast on that, but I could, but like, this is the best I've been. So in order for me to learn those lessons, I think I had to take that hardship. Like, I had to drink the ayahuasca of life and puke all this shit out, to learn something. Not that ayahuasca will help you learn it. It might. I don't know. I can't say that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've drank a lot of cough syrup and didn't learn anything, but but I honestly think, like, when we talk about trusting the process, right? Like, because I got to rope it back in again, but it's like this thing you trust, it almost becomes innate. Like, it's just something you know what I mean? After a while, like, after practicing it for a while, you just know it. And it's just kind of there. And then you get surprised by new things. And you're like, fuck, that shit I knew was totally wrong. I've been presented with new evidence,
I wonder, I think about the future hardships. What will I have to endure? How will I endure it? And I know this is it's probably not a healthy thing to think about, but when I
no, but I do it too, man. I do it all the time.
When I think about the past ones, and I go, well, shit was bad then. Shit's bound to be bad in the future.
Probably.
So instead, when that comes up, when I start to think about all the terrible things and all the awful ways that the world can be, and that everyone I love and know and care about will one day be in the ground or in the sky or wherever they go, but it's like I have to rope it back into where I'm at right now and today, and like, things are really pretty good today. Like, all the bills I think are paid today. There's food in the fridge today. And so you talk about, I think what trusting the process is finding, for me, gratitude, being thankful for the stuff that I have, and putting that down on paper, or putting that into action in some way, shape, or form, really helps to solidify that what I am doing is good, is worthy, is right for me,
Yeah.
But it's why we started recording our conversations and sending them out over the wires, into this ether,
over the interbutts out there into the world. I mean,
when I think, like, every time I think, like, oh, well, maybe this isn't doing good, or this isn't, maybe I'm not gonna, I don't know what the next letter's gonna be, or how long can we do this? And I have these thoughts all the time. And then somebody will send me an email, or somebody will say something, or there'll be something where they're like, man, I really love that. Or, I made that video of us up in Portland, and we did the little clips and stuff, and so many people people responded to it, and and
really, I didn't see the responses.
There was some really cool, and I was like, wow, a lot of people looked at this, and I could have said, oh, only 196 people looked at this or something, but it was like, wow, this is cool, and it was just really great that, like, all the responses that we got, and again, I don't know that she listens, but I thank your wife for recording us.
She doesn't listen because she hears me fucking talking all day long in the living room. So she's just like, oh, great. Now I got two of them talking at me. But she supports it, though. And I will extend that appreciation. I need to look at this is on the Instagram. I just,
you don't even follow.
I don't even follow our page. Yeah, but I do. But I just, I'm not on Instagram that much. I go in spurts, right? Like, I'll check it in the morning, and then I just don't touch it all day long. Maybe once a day I'm on it for like 15, 20 minutes. But yeah, I remember making a comment about that ponytail. Because looking back on that film, I was like, that fucking ponytail why didn't anybody tell me? You
I
know,
couldn't
like
say anything.
and then my wife was like, no, it looks good. And I'm like looking at it and actually moving. And I'm like, yo, Megan, like, you let me walk around like that for a year and a half, dude. Like, I want a divorce, dude. That's whack, dude. That's whack.
You seemed
like,
very excited when you were talking about growing your hair out.
I was super
Like,
excited
until
until I
realized.
realized. Yeah, I actually cut it like about a month after we did that. I think I cut it in April. Yeah, so yeah.
So to
Anyway, this isn't the hair podcast, but like,
the fear
Yeah.
and the doubt, they always show up and they always creep in, and I hate even saying that, right? Because you don't want to put it out in the universe and then it's going to come back to me. But like it comes, and so rather than I can feed into it, and I can act on the fear, and I can act on the doubt, which basically is just inaction. And going, you know what, I'm not going to do this anymore, or it's not going to work out anyway, or things are always bad for me, and that's never done any good. And my point was with the video was that there was a lot of great responses, and so I was like, okay, so this means I'm on the right track. This means, it's not about, it shouldn't be about likes and comments and subscriptions and downloads, right? Like, that should not be
right.
Because if there was one person listening, I think that I would like to think that you and I would still be doing this. We just happened to record it. We did this for a year before we hit record. So
yeah, we did.
I think that if anyone out there is feeling like that level of doubt and that fear, and I don't want to say trust the process, because I know how it sounds when you're not into it, and I know how it sounds.
Yeah, it sounds wild. It's like, shut the fuck up. No, you trust your process and shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds totally wild.
So do an experiment, and then if the results work, then trust the results and figure out why later. Just keep doing those things. That's
Right.
what I think I've found was that. Again, I'll use the running example, is that last summer I just started walking, and I never thought that it would get to the point where I'd feel like running 2 miles was not enough for me. And the only reason I'm stopping is because my heel hurts, And so what does that process look like? That's been 9 months now. And so that's been there's been some pain. There's been some days off. There's been days that haven't worked out the way that I wanted to. There's been some days that have been awesome and amazing. So finding a way to, I think writing it down has been good for me, because when we talk about trusting the results, I don't know the results unless I can look back. And there's a quote, and I think it's from one of the guys, it might be from one of the guys on Mythbusters, but it might be like Einstein as well too. But he says the difference between science, or between fooling around and science, is writing it down.
Right. Cool. I don't think that's Einstein, dude. I don't think he's like, the difference between science and fooling around is writing it down.
No,
I don't think that was. No, I mean, maybe, but I don't know if Einstein ever said fooling around.
Maybe not fooling around, but
we're just goofing.
Just goofy.
Just having a
then
goof.
Maybe it was Jamie.
It was probably Jamie. He's always got the pithy, cool.
So.
Comments, but it's true though.
This works for me, is writing it down.
That works for you.
And so I now currently have, I don't want to brag, but I have 3 journals going.
Man, that's a weird brag.
Right?
That's a weird flex, dude. It's a weird ass flex.
Well, I have my morning one, right? But I
Right.
started one that I keep in the side drawer just for dreams, and so it's just like when I first wake up and I'm like, what the fuck was that? Why wouldn't the woman on the phone let me talk to Joe Valentino? And why did she say no? We call him JJ around here. And I was
JJ Valentino making the fresh
and I was
beats.
just like,
yeah.
why do Walter and I have to go into the kiddie pool? And I'm just, so I write that down, so I get that out of my head right away. And then I also started one where just the running, the exercise, whatever kind of stuff that I do, and it basically just what was the weather like and how did I feel, but it's like super short, but I find that writing it down helps me to be able to trust the process and trust the results easier, because I can look back, because I don't remember day to day and I don't remember what happened yesterday. But if I plug it in, I mean, could you have gotten to where you're at if you hadn't started counting calories?
Right. But you know what's funny though is this is, I think, with you writing shit down, and that's part of your process, is I think this is where we have our odd couple moment, because I don't write anything down. I don't write anything down. I really don't. Like you'll even say like, why don't you make a list? And I'm like, yeah, sure, I got you, Johnny. And then I just won't do it. But like the thing is, like, I internalize everything because my way of learning and processing has always been to touch things and to like tactile feeling of things. And so I don't know if my way's not necessarily like more of an evil Knievel way or not, that I have to like throw myself into it and then be like, come out fucked up and be like, that didn't work. You know, like, okay, so remember, because I don't do that often anymore. I've always been really cautious. You know, I was even a very cautious drunk for the first like 7 or 8 drinks, but but it's always like my version of trusting the process was going through the tactile feeling of experiencing it and going, oh, okay, that's too much, and then backing out and then looking at it from afar and going, okay, I learned that. You know what's really good is you sent me that Rich Roll Pete Holmes podcast.
Yeah.
Right? And I haven't finished it yet.
You started
he's
it?
talking about this. Yeah, I loved it. I didn't want to at first because I was like, oh, this is some spiritual Johnny shit, you know. And then I listened to it and I like really liked it.
Right?
But what he says kind of aligns with what I aspire. My version of serenity, right? When you talk about writing, I talk about not jumping in, but touching it. Is that he says, all of our lives we figure things out in hindsight. Like we learn the lesson afterwards and go, oh man, I shouldn't have touched that stove or whatever, you know? And he's like, what I'm trying to do in my personality is learn the lesson while it's happening. Do you know what I'm saying? And so to me, that's always been serenity. One of my 2 things of serenity, because always in the rooms, they're like, we're looking for serenity, we're looking for peace or whatever. And to me, I always pictured like a placid koi pond and, you know, 2 wind chimes and shit. And I was not digging any of that. But I think for me, it was the ability to let things go in the moment and just let it go and let it be, and the ability to learn while it's happening. Do you know what I'm saying? And go, okay, this is happening right now. I'm being mindful, and so I need to not repeat this, or I need to continue doing this. Do you know what I mean? Instead of looking at it afterwards and going, wow, you were a fucking dick. What can you do differently? Which is what I do now. This is what I do now. It's just, that's my aspiration.
Is to learn in the moment.
It just... Yeah, and even 30 minutes into that podcast, I was like, this dude, what he's saying, like, I gel with it. Like, I get the idea of where he's coming from with that, you know. So, I think, I really do run kind of on the other plane where you like to, but you've always been kind of an organized dude to an extent. Like, you were the one dude who saved money. Like,
when
even when we were drunk
would.
all the time, you would just sock away all your tips, and I could never do that. Like, that wasn't part of my agenda. But so I think it's always been part of your process, but it's a really healthy way to work your process. You know, like, you got receipts.
It's helpful, and I haven't, like, the morning pages that I do and stuff like that. I don't go back and I haven't read. I've got like 4 or 5 or 6 journals I've been, you know, stacking away, and so but I haven't gone back and read them yet. I mean, I probably will, but so it's more of just like, for me, it's actually is the process. It is the writing of it. A lot of it may just be something, it could just be something stupid I'm angry about, or it could be what the weather is like outside, or it's not like, there are very few times where I go in there, write something that I want to look back on. And there's one in particular that I was working on as a blog post, that I was like, oh, that's an interesting idea. Can you flesh that out? Is that something that's valuable there? But 9 times, you know, out of 10, like, it's just the act of sitting, writing, and being, you know? So it's not, the content is not important. It's the action that I'm doing. It's that. So it literally is the process of putting pen to paper, regardless of what the outcome is. Because I've got books of outcomes that I don't even look at.
Right. Yeah.
So I guess that's my process, and you need to crash your bike and then, you know, figure out that
I really do, dude.
that hill is too steep.
Right. I mean, I've got a rod in my leg to prove it. Yeah. But it's just, it's different strokes, man. Different strokes to rule the world, buddy. Like, we gotta fucking figure out our own way to do it. But it's always good to have suggestions, I guess, is what I'm saying. And I think a lot of the times I do really agree with you. We do tend to run in tandem, and there are these other times where I don't necessarily disagree with you. I just take the other path. You know, like we'll take the forks. We end up meeting up somewhere anyway. You know,
I wouldn't have it any other way. I would never want to say like, you know, man, you know what you need to do, and because that never works. That didn't work for me. It doesn't.
No.
If it came out that the best way to get the result you wanted was for you to get a book and write it down and make a list, there's nothing that I could say to make you go buy a book. You would have to somehow figure it out on your own. You'd have to jump into the fire. You'd have to go, oh, fuck. You'd have to go like, okay, I found a book and I wrote something down just randomly and then it helped me. And then you'd be like, oh man, I guess I should do that again.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way I could tell you. I could get you a Barnes & Noble's gift card. I could get you, you know, a legal pad. It wouldn't matter. Mm-hmm. So
exactly.
I don't say this expecting anybody to listen to me, which is a funny thing to say about a podcast, but you know, that to heed that advice unless you find that it works for you, however that is.
Word. Yeah. This is just your perspective and my perspective. Yeah. And I like that. I do like that we emphasize that, like, we're not professionals. I like to say that once a podcast, we're not professional anything. I mean, other than our jobs, you know, but this is just our perspective on how it worked for me. So, like, as far as the learning process, right? Like, I've taken apart so many things that have been broken, like actual physical things, like lawnmowers and blenders and shit, and tried to fix them and just absolutely shit the bed. Like, lost pieces of it, fucking put things in backwards. And it took me a number of times before I realized, oh shit, when you crack open the shell on this thing, take pictures of it with your phone so you know where all the parts go. Right? That had to be part of my learning process. That was me. And so now every time that I'm like, oh, I'm going to take a stab at this, I like take pictures of every step of the way because it's part of the process, and trusting that process that, like, okay, this is part of my process. This is how I do it. You know, these are my records I learned.
So maybe
I learned how to do this.
Maybe it's a photographic journal that you keep.
Boom. Just say, hey, Megan, are you upset, Megan? Let me get a picture of your face real quick while you're pissed off there because I said that shit.
But finding that trust is not easy, especially as an alcoholic. And for me, trust was something that was taken away at a very young age, you know, with being in a broken home and a abusive father, alcoholic father. And so when you don't have it from the get-go, it's really hard to say, oh, well, you just got to trust it. And so I think there was no real good way. When I was going through the steps and my sponsor would just, he said straight up, he's like, you're going to have to trust me. And because I would just be asking too many questions and wanting to know about this and how does this work and what is this all about and blah, blah, blah. And he was just like, you're going to have to trust me. And I think at one point, you know, he's like, do you trust me? And I just had to say yes, whether I believed it completely or not. Because it's not about, I don't hear it very often where somebody says, I got sober, I flipped a switch, I had my spiritual experience, I was a whole new person, I had a complete personality change, and everything was beautiful and amazing after that. I rarely hear that. You do. And what I hear from people is that, you know, that little bit of like the door cracked open, I had to kind of just dip my toe in and check out the water, and if it was too deep or too cold, or I'm not ready for that yet. And so that what they call the educational variety of the epiphany. And so I think that it's fine. It was fine for me to say, yes, I trust you, even if I didn't 100% believe it. It was fine for me. It's fine for me today to say a prayer to God, even if I'm not 100% sure that I believe in him or her or it or divine creator or whatever words, you know.
Or they.
Yes, them.
Or them.
They. Maybe it's a few people up there doing things. Maybe it's...
You know, it could be a committee. It could be nothing.
Like the last... did you watch the last episode of Game of Thrones? I don't know if we should...
We can't spoil it, though, because then we're going to get fucking voted. Well, I don't know how they do it on Apple. It's just all downvoted and worst podcast ever because I spoiled Game of Thrones. Everybody was mad. I was not mad.
I wasn't mad. But
I was mad at the end of Lost, and at the end of Dexter, I was angry.
And I think
Anyway.
after that, I think it's just a matter of giving it a chance. Because if you want to be sober, let me just say that, do you want to be happy? Right? I wanted to be happy.
Right.
So that included getting sober. In fact, that was the first step for me.
Right.
I had to at least be willing, they say a lot of times. And so be willing to trust this process even just a little bit. And so it's hard. I wish I had better advice. I mean, I hope that's good advice, but you just have to kind of go with it. I mean, and I've been willing to go with so many things and get in so many different fucking weird cars and go into weird bars and snort weird powders and drink weird booze.
Dude. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And
Yes, dude. I trusted. I did the same fucking things.
How many unsavory situations did I trust, quote unquote?
But then all of a sudden I'm in a church basement, and in a minute Sherry says the word God, I'm out the fucking door. Like, I'm like, no, that's too much. Later. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, oh no, that's a cult, you know? And I'm like, well, what happened? What cult was I in when I was doing key bumps of meth in the back of a fucking car, drinking warm tequila out of like a jug? You know, like
that's a cult. Yeah, absolutely. So
yeah, that was the cult of getting fucked up. You know, like
when I think about
I get so frustrated with myself sometimes because I'm like, man, where are my priorities? Like,
warm tequila. You like to have it chilled?
Yeah. No, it just was. Well, I
guess
mean,
you just get it down.
I would prefer it not at all. It just was the only thing in the car we were doing key bumps of meth.
So yeah, when I think about the things that I trusted before, it makes it a lot easier to be able to trust things now that are new and strange and weird and scary, because I wasn't always interested in taking apart a 9mm with a fucking gangster who had a suitcase full of pills and powders on my bedroom, you know, on my bed.
Right.
Like,
do you know what I'm saying though? But you trusted that process with that weird dude who may or may not have just killed a bunch of fools.
I don't know. But it was terrifying and exciting at the same time. Allegedly.
Yes.
And I was like, yeah. And every time it was funny because every time that I would just talk shit to him, he would like me even more. Maybe because everybody was scared of him. But, you know, I trusted that, and there was no reason for me to, it was a terrifying situation. So I can understand being in a new terrifying situation, but I wouldn't suggest hanging out with people who want to show you how to take apart 9mm and.
Well, unless they're like a gun instructor.
Yes, I mean, my point being is that
unless you're at the firing range.
I didn't see any. There was no licensing involved. This is a very unsavory situation.
Oh man, old boy didn't have his license.
But so yeah, I think that trusting the results, because that's the big thing. Did I get a result from this? Do I feel good? And sometimes the results are that you don't feel good. Sometimes the results are that shit is coming up out of you. That came out of me. Mm-hmm. You know, I talked about crying being, you know, a form of getting poison out. You know, and to just let myself cry, for whatever reason it is. I had a moment, if I may share, Jerry.
Go ahead.
I was out. I went for a run and my heel was hurting, and I went out for like however long it was, and I was coming back, and it was one of these weird days where then the rain started coming down while I was out there, and the only way I could get out was to run back to the car. Otherwise, I'm just stuck in the rain. There's nothing I can do. I'm just trapped there. And my only way is to get out is on my own 2 feet, and my heel's hurting, and I'm listening to my my phone or whatever music, and that song "Time for Me to Fly" by REO Speedwagon comes on, where it's like, time for me to fly.
I don't know that. Oh my God, yes. And, okay. Once you sing the melody, I'm like, that's
and
it, yeah.
I've talked to you about this song before, about how it's like, it's a metaphor for me saying goodbye to alcohol, and how alcohol promised all these things to me. And I had this moment, I started crying. So I'm in my gray Ween hoodie with my orange sunglasses on while the rain starts coming down. I'm listening to REO Speedwagon, and I'm running on this heel that hurts because I just want to get out of the rain. And the song comes on, and I just start crying. And I can either just
Wow.
kind of stifle it, but where am I? I'm nowhere, So I just started crying while I was running, and it was like,
That's amazing,
I know,
though. That's like something out of a
I know
movie.
it's totally ridiculous, but
Yeah.
it was just like this moment where I was like, wow, man, like this feels really good and really weird and kind of scary in a lot of different ways, but like just go with
but
it.
you had a genuine human moment. Like that was a genuine, for real, sincere fucking moment. You know what I mean? And you don't really get a lot of those as an adult. You get them as a little
Yeah.
kid to be able to express just that feeling of just being overwhelmed. You just start crying because you're little. You're allowed that. But as like a 40-year-old adult,
Yeah.
you're not allowed to just run and cry. I mean, you're not allowed to. You should if it makes you feel good.
And that's
Do you know what I'm saying? So that's a positive.
That's
I
exactly
think.
what it was. I felt overwhelmed, and I just felt really grateful for being able to be out there. And I was like, it's raining,
Yeah.
and I'm just out here by myself. And of course, I wasn't very far from anything, but it just felt. I just
Right.
had this moment where I just felt like it's only me and my 2 feet that can get me out of here. And then
Damn.
REO Speedwagon coming on and
Right.
taking me to the next level. Like,
The song from like Karate Kid 2 or something.
well,
And you're just
you
out
know
there.
how you made that playlist, that Spotify playlist. So I've been starting one myself,
Uh-huh.
which has got some other songs on it, and that's one of them that I want to put on there. And
I gotta. When you're done, let me know. I want to listen to it, and then I'll probably cry too.
So it
though.
was just I just had this beautiful, like you said, human moment of being overwhelmed, and I was like, okay, so things are working themselves out. I am working myself out, because
right.
we say that things will work out if you just do this, and it does. If you just trust the process, it does require work on your behalf. I would totally, I would have to give myself credit for my own sobriety. I would have to give you credit for doing what you did, or else I don't think that I would have been here. I certainly would. If you hadn't gone first, I wouldn't have known that it was possible.
See what I'm saying? I'm the one who has to test the shit every time, dude.
Right?
Like you talk about writing in your journals. I'm the one who actually had to go out there and then. Like I never reported back to you, but you'd call me, and I know you were calling to be like, "How is it out there?" And I'm like, "It's fucking sucks, dude." Like, I just get mad all the time, and I'm crying, and it hurts, but I'm remembering everything. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. Like, and then every time you call, I'm like, "It's sucking a lot less, but it still sucks a little bit." Like. But that is funny. I ran out there first to test it.
It's true. You did.
And I'm still out there, so fuck, like, what are we going to do with that? You're out here now with me. It's like you and I just sitting out here. We got a couple of friends kind of dotting around
Right.
us, who are experimenting with it or who are actually doing it. But, out of all of us drunks, like, it's just you and I and a couple other people just sitting out here,
I can't,
Yeah. We're the only ones who talk to each other really very
That's
much.
true. That's true of all the people I know.
Yeah.
We know. But yeah, man, if you had not jumped into the fire and tested it out, and it turned out that it wasn't fire. It turned out that, it's like you just had to.
It was chicken broth. Yeah,
I don't know what it was, but.
Oh, it wasn't chicken broth. It was just a joke.
But it's true.
Didn't
Like
work.
you
cut
go
that part
through.
out. Just edit that part out.
I guess you go through the fire, right? Because I had no problem
Yeah.
going through the fire when I was drinking.
Ah.
So I'm glad that you did and came back with some positive results.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Me too. Me
So
too.
it's this thing that I feel like sobriety for me is it keeps gaining momentum, and in a broader sense,
yeah.
life is gaining
absolutely
momentum,
does.
right?
Yes.
So
This is like an add-on. It's like a Google, like a
extension?
Firefox extension. You know what I'm saying? Sobriety, like it's just sobriety.exe or whatever. You just extend it on, and then life will keep gaining momentum. But now you have this like perk, like this skill extension you've attached to it that enhances the entire thing while it's happening.
it's like that app you
know?
put on Amazon so that you get all the discount codes or something like that.
Right. It's like putting a mod on Fallout 4 where it makes the game like way better.
So
Yeah.
and the challengers are still there. There's still feral ghouls out there, but you have the tools you need to.
Right. But you're dressed up like an anime girl with giant titties, and like.
You've got a laser gun. So yeah.
But it shoots out Macho Man Randy Savages or something.
You should get that mod, or you.
You could do a Skyrim mod where it turns all the dragons into Macho Man Randy Savage. I'll send you a video. Yeah, you'll love it. But anyway, yeah.
So I would only say to anybody who's listening who is having difficulty or thinking about going back, or having a drink, or not sticking with whatever they've been doing to keep themselves sober, trust the process. Look at the results you got while you were drinking, and look at the results you've gotten thus far. Because I'm coming up on 4 years, Jerry, and you're going to be 5. And I can't imagine not doing it for another 5, and not doing it for another 25, and not doing it for another 45 if I have that many left in me. I don't know that I do. That's like almost 90 years old, man. But
just keep stretching out them plantar warts, and you should be fine, dude.
Thanks again for listening. Our music, as always, is by Neglect. You can find more of his stuff at neglect.bandcamp.com. And
you can find us on all social media platforms that matter: Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And you can reach us at aisforalcoholic@gmail.com.
Talk to you later.
Yeah.